good evening, everyone, and welcome into Beyond the Box Score, our weekly program where we break down all the latest action in high school, college, and professional football here on Pulaski Citizen Live. I'm your host, Mark Mize, joined once again by my co-host, Chandler Harmon. Chandler, two big wins in region play for Richland and Giles County. A great week of football.
Absolutely, and what great performances from both teams with a dominant performance from Giles County and from Richland.
Anytime that both teams win by 30 or more points, you know things went pretty well. And versus region foes to basically have statement wins, really important as, of course, we're getting down to the last 3 or 4 games of the regular season.
Absolutely. And, as we'll hear later on in the show from some of the players, the one score we saw in the Cascade matchup, kind of a little bit of miscommunication. So overall, very dominant from Giles. And looking ahead towards our region, all of a sudden, everything's back on the table for Giles County and for Richland.
Absolutely. And of course, Giles County will be playing at Community this week, a region game, a new region game for those of you who are used to seeing Community in AA. They have now moved up to 3A, so that now is a region matchup for the Bobcats there. Richland will be on a bye week this week before they have a non-region home game next week. That'll be senior night versus Summer Sound. So Richland is off, which means that the boys are back in town together. Chandler and I will actually, for the first time in the regular season, be covering the same game when we head up to Community.
And it's going to be a fun time. I'm excited to see what the Bobcats put together with, ending on a big win at Cascade, kind of giving them some momentum as they have been on their road tour. So I'm excited to see what the boys put together. It
will be a great week. It was a great week of college football as well as, honestly, kind of the upset Saturday of the season so far.
Yeah, I called it a little bit, the Manning curse with Florida, but, you just never know with them. But pretty exciting for football just to have so many big games that end up being upsets and kind of putting some pressure on Arch Manning in Texas. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out.
We'll talk about that and the high school football and maybe a note from the professional ranks where the Titans picked up their first win of the season this past Sunday as well. But you can hear all that here in just a moment on Beyond the Box Score.
When it comes to real estate, Haney Realty and Property Management is the team you can trust. Our extensive knowledge of the market and industry allows us to help our clients with any real estate need. We know how to get results. So whether you're looking to buy, sell, or rent, let us put our expertise to work for you. Call us today at 931-347-9150 or visit HaneyRealtyPM.com to learn more. Haney Realty and Property Management, your best friend in real estate.
And we're back, and welcome into the Giles County High School section. And once again, I'm joined here by Chris. Chris, how are you doing, man?
Man, doing really good. It's always exciting to get a chance to come up here and chat with you guys for a little while and talk Bobcat football, especially after the Bobcats get a win. Our conversations are usually a lot more exciting after a victory, so it's always good.
Absolutely, and what a win for the Bobcats, holding Cascade to just one scoring drive and ending up putting quite a number of themselves.
Yeah, it was a complete night of high school football. I think the biggest takeaway is you won a ball game where you didn't play exceptionally clean. You look at some of the penalties that the Bobcats had. You look at some of the botched things on special teams that you had, some miscues defensively, even some missed opportunities offensively. You were able to still figure out how to win those football games and be able to come out victorious, and that's huge at the high school level. You've got to be able to battle adversity in game. It's easy to – I talked about this Friday night, but it's easy to go back to the drawing board Sunday and film and Monday and whatever, but can you – rein it in after 24 minutes of not so good football? Can you figure it out, get yourself back to where you need to be, and go out and execute the second half? I thought they did a great job of that, and I thought they did it in an atmosphere that was pretty raucous over there at Cascade. It's a beautiful place to play high school football. They had a large crowd there. The Bobcats just weathered the storm, kept playing our style, and were able to lead with a victory.
Absolutely, and in Collier's second game, led in rushing and put up 3 touchdowns, and of course blocked the kick. So getting right back into the swing of things. How big do you think his performance was to kind of keeping the team together and riding the courses as they kind of weathered a penalty storm there?
Yeah, I think he was huge in what he was able to do Friday night. Obviously, having a tailback of his caliber to be able to tote the ball like he can and do the things he can with the football is tremendous. And I think you look at him with the amount of touches and then even the yardage that he had was great. But there's another individual who probably is the reason Collier gets some of that success, and that's Buckner. That's Dallas Buckner. What the touches Buckner gets at the fullback spot, he's a different type of runner. Obviously, he's not as shifty and quick as Pearson Collier. He's a physical guy, looks for that contact. But when you can go, fullback dive on 1st and 10 and you pick up 4 yards, it's going to be a long night of high school football for whoever's on the other side of that line of scrimmage. And so him having those touches, I would love to know the amount of touches he had from the fullback spot, Friday night. And so, again, I think what he does just allows Collier to be able to do what he does. Because, again, a lot of stuff we see with Pearson is off tackle, trying to get to that, 4 or 5 gap on either side and be able to get to the outside. And so you have to be able to defend that. In order to do that, you got to spread out a little bit. Linebackers got to be able to read a little further out. But then you have Dallas Buckner, who you can hand the ball to right over top of the center. He picks up 4 yards. It just creates a lot of confusion for your defense and makes you have to pay attention to quite a bit. And I think right now the Bobcats are doing a good job taking advantage of that. Pearson's doing a good job of, taking what the defense gives him. I'm still looking for him to hit the big home run ball. I think he has the type of speed, that next level speed. I think it'll come as time comes along. But like I told you the last 2 or 3 weeks, again, I think you could take me, you, Mark Mize, and go back there and play tailback behind those hog mileage from the Bobcats. They do such a good job up front. It's a collective effort. When you have guys like that are constantly making holes and making plays like that for your tailbacks, you can put anybody back there. I think we'd have success.
Absolutely. And, obviously down 2 running backs, I think that they've kind of stabilized the backfield a little bit and found a tandem in Collier and in Buckner to kind of weather that storm of injuries. And obviously, Buckner's not a running back, but with him playing at the fullback position, giving them what they need to have a big power player, and then combining him with Collier's helped them to kind of get in the rhythm that they need to get into.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think they stabilize everything the Bobcats want to do offensively. And we haven't seen a lot of it yet because I think that's just who David O'Connor is as the head coach. He likes to keep a lot of stuff under wraps until, you see some competition you hadn't seen this season and go into playoffs. You don't have everything on film. But as this season continues, don't be surprised when you get a heavy dose of drive after drive, handoff to Bridges, who I think will get back, and then Pearson Collier or Buckner, and then even B.B. Bledsoe, another kid we hadn't seen due to injury, but I think he's also going to get some touches. You get steady doses of those guys for 4 or 5 plays in a row, and then boom, it's a play action over the top. You hit bones on a post route. And so, but that all stems from having an offensive line that can stabilize and allow you to do that. They do a good job in run blocking. They fit it really well. And then even in pass blocking, do a good job in that aspect, keeping Randolph up on his feet. And allowing him time to be able to see and separate the defense. And when he can go from his first read to his fourth read at the high school football level, that's an eternity back there. And when you got an offensive line that does that good for you, it makes his job that much easier. And then he's got wide receivers like Damari Allen, Jazz Bentley, T-Ray Cheatham, guys that just go out there and constantly – Cole Ogle is another one of those that are just – and then, oh my goodness, McLemore is who I was meant to say, who, again, just goes out there and make plays like they do. It makes it a lot easier to play offense.
Absolutely. And speaking of wide receivers, Damari Allen making a big play in their matchup, an almost Odell Beckham-like catch, which really, I think, helped energize the Bobcats as they went on to eventually score on that drive. Yeah,
when you watch Damari Allen play, you start to see a kid that is starting to grow into his body. He's starting to find himself and the type of wide receiver that he wants to be. He does such a good job at route running. He has really, really good hands. And then he does a good job of high pointing the football at his peak and making those plays. You can see the confidence in Randolph growing with Damari Allen, because there's a couple of balls I've watched him. There was one he tried to hit Damari Allen, in like a window like such. And I'm thinking, that's just a quarterback trusting his wide receiver. I'm going to give him a shot to go make a play. Probably would have liked to see him go elsewhere with the football right there, but you just see the confidence starting to grow for both of those guys. And again, what we have seen thus far from Damari Allen, it's scary to think that this kid is just a sophomore. He's probably going to grow some more. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get more physical. He's going to be faster. And then you get X Randolph back again next year. What we can see those two do next season, barring injury, everybody stay healthy, could be video game-like stats.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick timeout, and then we're going to hear from Coach O'Connor, Pearson Collier, Damari Allen, and quarterback Xavier Randolph here on Beyond the Box Score.
Gas Department of Pulaski is here to help you save money. Natural gas is safe, efficient, and cost-effective. It's up to 50 to 60% less expensive than electricity for home heating. Plus, it's clean and efficient, so you can feel good about your choice. Call us today for service or visit our website to learn more. Make the switch to natural gas and start saving today.
So obviously, Coach, another big win today. Last week, amazing game against Lincoln County. This week, on the road, and you beat Cascade. What are some things you thought the team did good today?
I thought we played with great energy tonight. I thought that our guys, I think we swarmed defensively. I think we've got to eliminate a lot of mistakes we had. I mean, there's some jumping offside on 3rd and 4. Can't do stuff like that. Running into the punter when they snap the ball over the punter's head. If he punts it 40 yards, it might get back to the line of scrimmage. You just can't do stuff like that. We got to play not only hard and not only fast. You got to play smart.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, defensively, some really good plays. Blocked kick, return for a touchdown. Defensively, how are you seeing the team perform?
I think we're improving every day defensively. A really good job of the defensive guys. Coach Holly, Big Joe, Coach Thomas, Coach Oates, those guys are doing a really good job getting our defense ready to play. We have leaps and bounds ahead of where we were 3 weeks ago.
Absolutely. And obviously next week on the road again against Community. What are some things that you're looking for the team to get ready for that matchup?
We got to work on our self-discipline, not no penalties and things of that nature. It's just little stuff that we can do and get a lot better at.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it.
So, Randolph, another great game for the Bobcats, another big win. What are some things you saw on the field that you thought the team did really good?
I think our execution wasn't the best, but I think our intensity was really good. I think if we keep that up, we'll be good going through the rest of these games.
Absolutely. And obviously, making some big connections. How are you feeling now that Collier's back? How are you thinking the team overall is doing now?
I think Pearson is a big improvement for our team because he's just a great and outstanding player. So him being back helps us really, really good.
Absolutely. Thanks. Obviously, I think we got to talk about that amazing catch you had. Almost Odell Beckham Jr. arm out. What were you thinking in that moment on that play?
In that moment, I seen franchise scramble out. I was just thinking when I seen him throw it, I was like, I gotta go just get it. And I tried. My other arm, I couldn't get my other arm around there, but I got one and I brought it in.
Yeah, and obviously amazing keeping it all the way to the ground. Big play in there. Other plays, what'd you think overall for the team in this matchup?
I think we played well as a team, like franchise said. We didn't execute that well, but our intensity was there. And we're looking for next week another region game to hopefully go 2-1.
So Pearson, obviously second game back.
Yes, sir.
2 touchdowns. Talk to me a little bit about tonight's performance.
As a solo, I felt good. As a team, we do have to clean it up. Their first touchdown should have never happened. We gave it to them, and I feel like we gave them a lot of opportunities and that they shouldn't have had.
Absolutely. Obviously, it's come back from the leg injury. How are you feeling overall?
I feel perfect. I feel better than ever.
Absolutely. And obviously, with Hannah out, stepping up, making the plays. How does that feel, kind of, being that guy when the team needs you?
It feels good that they can rely on me. Of course, we're gonna miss Hannah. Bridges is out as well, but I'm glad I can step up and help out the team wherever I can.
And we're back. And joining me here for our preview of this week's matchup at Community is Mark Mize. Mark, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. We had a chance to see Community. We actually had a chance to go to Community earlier this year when Richland won that one 42-8. And so happy to give you a little scouting on what the Bobcats will be seeing Friday night.
Absolutely. And as we alluded to earlier in the show, our first time together this regular season actually going to the matchup together. So might be seeing, you and me talk on the sideline at the game, hopefully paying attention to the plays, though.
Oh, yeah, of course. I get to be photography. I actually really enjoy taking pictures. It's probably not the thing I'm best at, but JP Plant and Chris Bledsoe will be having the broadcast and the stream for you as well. And so you can actually watch this week's game on the YouTube and Facebook page for WKSR as well. So whether you come up there, whether you read Chandler's stories and get a chance to check it out, it should be a good one for Giles.
Absolutely. So, Mark, break it down a little bit for us on what you saw from Community previously and how that's going to play a role in Giles County's matchup.
Yeah, so the first thing you have to say about Community is, if I'm not mistaken, they're losers of 18 straight. The current coaching staff, this is their first year, and, I feel like they're doing their best with what they have, but once you have some issues with losing, sometimes it's difficult to get kids out. They're a 3A program playing with the size of a team that you associate probably with a single A program in terms of how many kids are actually on the roster there. And so they're not in a very good place right now. And Community's really, that's been their story ever since the beginning. They've never had a winning season in program history, and they started my freshman year of high school, 2005.
Oh, wow.
So, they've never made the playoffs. They've never had a winning season. Really nice group of folks, but it's going to be a young team. They really like to run the ball. They don't pass it well at all. And, they'll probably pick up a couple first downs on you there because that young quarterback they have there, he's a freshman. He's a really, really good runner, likes to scramble, likes to get out of the pocket on some of those bootleg plays. And then other than that, really, they just run up the middle quite a bit. So if there was a game where Giles may actually have a chance to force negative yardage for their opponent, this is sadly probably that game. Community is not ready for what Giles is going to be bringing to the table.
All right, and obviously sounded a little bit like a give-me game. Hopefully, a chance to test out some things for the Bobcats. We've seen them kind of experimenting a little bit, and maybe another game that we can see them kind of take and ease off some players to hopefully make sure they're healthy for bigger matchups. Obviously Collier coming off the injury 2 weeks ago has been great in the two matchups. Maybe here soon we'll see Bridges. So, just kind of looking ahead and hopefully keeping up with the region play. With Watertown losing now, all of a sudden, if Watertown loses another one, region's back wide open for the Bobcats. So hopefully we'll see some good play out of them.
And I'll be honest, it wouldn't surprise me to see that happen. I think Forest is a really, really good team, and Forest might have the best running back in this region. And so, honestly, the race for first and second place, I think, are still wide open. Now, Giles needs to beat Sequatchie in order to win this region. At this point, there's probably no path to a region championship in which you don't beat Sequatchie. That's going to be later on in the season, so huge matchup there. But until then, it's really all about just taking care of business. You're going to be heavy favorites versus Community. You already beat Cascade. I mean, Forest is coming up. Just overall, if you can do what you're supposed to do, what you proved that you can do against Lincoln County, because obviously Lincoln County, by the way, top 10 in 5A, and you beat them. Honestly, Giles, I think they can win every game that's left on the schedule. And so they have only one more non-region game. That one they're headed out to Jackson North Side. But really for you, what do you think are your three keys to Giles County getting out of this one with the biggest margin of victory? Because I'll be honest, we all know Giles is going to win this one, but the biggest margin of victory and also keeping guys healthy. What are your keys?
Oh, for sure. We're going to, obviously establishing the run game. That's kind of been their bread and butter the past few weeks. I could easily see, last week we got 146 yards for Collier. I could see him breaking 150 yards in this matchup and having multiple scores. If I'd assume that if we get a big enough lead that we might be taking players out and kind of putting in some other players to get some experience. And if we see that, obviously that's going to preserve your guys for, another, as you alluded to, a very far road game next week for the Bobcats, which will close out their road travel 3 in a row, and they'll go back home. So having an early start with their run game is important. I think defensively, that could be very important. We saw it against Cascade. They're really starting to get in a rhythm where they're getting stops and they're having the guys where they need to be. I wouldn't be surprised if you talked about not only negative yardage, but potentially a shutout. Cascade's lone score came on, a drive that was the result of a penalty. So we could see it potentially being a no-score and negative yardage game for them. And then lastly, I think that, the game's won at the line of scrimmage. As long as the O-line has played as great as they have the rest of the season, I don't think they're going to struggle all that much.
Oh, no. And I will say this, too. I've heard some people in the Richland and Giles County community saying, well, is Community the worst team in the state? No, they are not. They're the worst 3A team in the state of Tennessee, but people who say stuff like that don't know what's out there in Class A ball in the far corners of the state. There are a few teams that are just really, really bad. Community is well coached, and they have an idea about what they want to do out there. It's just that Giles at every single position on the field just has a massive talent advantage. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of like whenever your favorite college football team that is an FBS team plays their one FCS team of the year. Mm-hmm. Even if the FCS team is well coached and has a good game plan, there's just such a difference in talent that you're rarely going to see the Michigan versus Appalachian State where you have the big upset.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Giles wins this one easily. Richland scored 6 touchdowns on their first 6 possessions of that game. In the first half, I imagine Giles will do much the same.
Right. And obviously, a little bit of a difference with Giles County, Richland being that Giles County, a higher classification, but
right.
I could see, the same kind of trajectory. The Bobcats basically scored at will against Cascade, and Cascade's, you don't want to say that they're
Cascade's
a
better than Community. Yeah, Cascade is better than Community. I've seen both teams in the last 2 years. We can just put that to bed right now. Cascade is significantly better, and quite frankly, they'll probably win by at least 4 touchdowns. They play at the end of the year because they're both region opponents. I think Cascade wins that game by at least 4 touchdowns. So no, we don't need to worry about that. You're exactly right in what you're saying.
So I think that we could easily see, you don't want to guess 7 or 8 touchdowns, but it's very likely with the Bobcats.
It is.
Collier could end up winning another Main Street Player of the Week. This week won it for, quite frankly, just an amazing performance. I wouldn't be surprised if we see similar from him again.
And last note there are only 3 teams in our local division, where you have Lawrence, Giles, and Murray County, which is what Scott Stewart is the publisher of, and Mo Patton is the sports editor of. Murray's not playing any games this week because it's their fall break. So there are only 3 local games in our area. So, the pool for that award is a little bit smaller than it would be in normal weeks.
Right. So it's wide open for Giles County to swoop in with one of their guys. Maybe could be, as we alluded to earlier in the segment, Dallas Bugner, a key part of their run game. They have, you could say that just about any of their guys could end up winning it with just how talented their roster is.
Absolutely.
So we're going to take a quick timeout, and then we're actually going to hear from Giles County soccer head coach, Coach Matthew Ogeron, here on Beyond the Box Score. This is Chandler Harmon, and joining me here is Coach O of the Giles County High School soccer team. Coach, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what's going on this season with the soccer team.
So our girls soccer team, we just finished up the regular season last night with Wynn versus Coffee County. We're getting geared up for the district tournament. First round is tomorrow against Spring Hill High School at 6 o'clock. We've had a up and down year, which is to be expected whenever you've got such a young roster as we do this year. We've got some good senior leadership, but a lot of very young players that are getting some good minutes and are starting to develop. So we're looking ahead to the future, but also trying to remain in the present. And game by game, we're improving. We're coming together as a team, and hopefully at the right time, right before district tournament.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about that team development. What are some good things you're seeing from the team so far?
Well, at the beginning of the season, we had a little bit of a difficulty in the attacking third, just in finalizing and putting the ball in the back of the net. Our defense has been our strength most of all of the season. That's where a lot of our senior leadership and more veteran players are in our defense, anchored by center back Ramsey Owens and Nia Garrett, who's a senior playing left back and some center back. And also Emma Harris, and then veteran goalie junior Kinsley Morse. So they've anchored us and kind of give us some stability in the back. And then just in our attacking core, you've got 2 freshmen and a sophomore. And I think Maria Holt is our leading goal scorer, and she was our second leading goal scorer last year. She's still 15, very young, lot still to develop there, and looking forward to seeing that attacking trio in the years to come. But just them finding some continuity and being able to work together and just find that cohesion and seeing that progress throughout the season has really been fun to watch. Absolutely.
You talked about last night getting a win. How did the performance look in that win?
Overall, it was definitely an improvement on earlier in the season. We played them last game of the Smoky Mountain Cup, Coffee County as well, and came away with a 0-0 draw, which that was in a tough portion of the season where I think we had 5 games in 7 days.
Oh, wow.
So we were kind of a little sluggish, digging into our reserves, getting some quality minutes for some players that have progressed throughout the season, and it's definitely helped us playing a tough schedule and playing lots of games to where you're building some of that depth at the bench level to where it's next man up mentality. But overall, I was pleased to see how we overcame and just ended up squeaking out a 2-1 win against a really quality team.
Absolutely. Looking ahead to tomorrow's matchup against Spring Hill, what are some key things for the team going into that?
We played Spring Hill about a month ago. It was a 0-0 draw. I think we outshot them probably 25-7. It was a cooler, wet night. We were in weather delay after weather delay for that game. I think it ended up getting started an hour and a half after it was supposed to originally start, just due to lightning in the area that kind of put us off a little bit. And playing on turf and the ball being wet and the field being wet, we didn't get a lot of quality looks, but we definitely outshot, and we even missed a PK during that game. The edge was definitely to us throughout the course of the 80 minutes. So we're looking to pick up where we were last time playing them, but also just put the ball in the back of the net. Like I said, those were some of our woes earlier in the season. We've started attacking a little bit better and just creating more chances in that offensive third.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you.
For over 50 years, PES Energize has been proudly powering our community in Pulaski and Giles County, Tennessee. We're more than just an electric utility. We also offer internet and phone services. Our commitment to our customers and our community is what sets us apart. We're dedicated to providing safe, reliable, and innovative services. At PES Energize, we believe that serving you is a privilege. We're here for all your energy needs. Visit PESenergize.com or call us today.
And we're back here on Beyond the Box Score with our Richland segment here with Dylan Manus for the third time this year. Dylan, great to have you as always. And now, if people didn't know better, they'd start to thinking maybe you're a Richland fan rather than a Lawrence County fan with how many games you've been to this year.
Yeah, I've been to a few already. It's been good to see 2 road games and now a couple of home games now, and most recently Cornersville.
Absolutely. So the Raiders win that one 31-0 to improve to 5-2 on the season and pick up a region victory there in the Battle of Buford Station. It was a bit of an odd game, Dylan. Special teams for Cornersville weren't very good. They had 3 different punts, basically due to bad snaps by the long snapper, end up with the punter having to fall on the ball. Poor punter there had negative 42 yards rushing as a result of those plays, and that resulted in 3 times in which the Raider offense started the ball inside the opponent's 30. What did you think about the game?
Yeah, I just really felt like, watching with my dad, we just kept talking about how it just felt kind of funny. Even with Richland really dominating the game throughout, it just felt awkward with the bad snaps, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking earlier, instead of the Battle of Buford Station, it was the Battle of Bad Snaps. I mean, even Richland on their side had a few issues with a couple of snaps out of shotgun. But you got to feel for Cornersville a little bit in that poor punter. I didn't know what that average was, but man, they struggled. And, Richland certainly dominated field position, took advantage of those poor snaps where the punter was simply forced to fall on it. I think he actually tried to get one off pretty early.
And he did get one off. Now, granted, it was a little bit of a shank, but he was being chased down on the play. So
you're
honestly,
under pressure. Yeah.
Not a bad job. And really, last point here, I don't think a lot of people in the stadium saw this. And I don't remember if me and you have talked about it yet. But, he basically is the recipient of 3 bad snaps. And so on the 5th punt of the night, they actually put him in at long snapper. So they actually put the punter, Hayden Cherry, in at long snapper, and he put a beautiful long snap to the new punter, Levi Wenzel. And so, it may be a case where it's, well, you think you can do this better? Well, I do think I can do this better. And, he goes on and he ends up being the best long snapper on the night, but he's also the starting punter. And so It was just a really odd situation, a strange night of special teams overall, because you also had the really nice run by Landon Harbison, but they needed 30 yards, and he attempted to run for the first down, picked up 19, really good play, ends up being a turnover on downs, and then you had the blocked kick as well for Richland, had their second field goal of the night after Bates had hit a 25-yarder. The second one was blocked, and so just overall probably one of the strangest nights of special teams I can remember, Dylan.
Yeah, I just kept telling my dad, first of all, when is Cornersville going to fire their long snapper? It's going to be a long ride back to Cornersville. Really not that long at all from Richland to Cornersville, but you've got to feel for that guy. But as you say, Mark, just those, just dealing with those, they're essentials, but we seem to take them for granted so much. And that's the snapping of the ball, clean exchange, that you don't risk a turnover, possible turnover, or a loss of yardage, or a bad 4th down, whatever that looks like. And so, but Richland, in spite of the sloppy play, it still ended up 31-0. Didn't always feel like that kind of score, but it was pretty much Richland from the get-go.
It definitely was. And they scored on 5 of their first 6 offensive possessions in the first half to go up 31-0 there. Just looking at some of the stats here, Gavin Schrader, 5 of 8 passing for 71 yards and a touchdown. Jake Sands had a big night, 7 carries for 93 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Colin Cagle, 4 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown. And then interestingly enough, I think this now is, if I'm not mistaken, 5, and once again, they've played 7 games. They've had 5 different guys lead in receiving. And tonight, that night, it was Hudson Griggs. And so really interesting that the receiving core has been so deep that in 7 games, you've had 5 different guys lead the team in receiving.
It's we tend to focus on the tailbacks and how they go about 5 deep or so. And yet, like you say, in receiving, very similar. They're very talented and through the air, on the ground, whatever they need. Of course, the more depth you have, the easier it is to share the wealth.
And then that Raider defense, once again, I know, and this is something that I think is going to be a little bit difficult for the average fan to understand if they aren't used to how stats are kept. But if on 4th down, the punter has to fall down on a loose ball, those are negative yards. Those are negative rushing yards on the botch play there, because technically what happened, it was really a turnover on downs because the punter just has to fall on the ball. And so once again, that led to some serious negative yards for Cornersville. But at the half, including those special teams blunders, they only had 5 yards of offense at halftime. The Richland defense, when they were on the field, I mean, they were about as dominant as I think we've seen them all season long.
Yeah, they being Cornersville, they were just so overmatched. You could tell in the offensive line play. My dad's gotten into watching some of that, some of the young linemen there. I'm drawing a blank on his name at the moment. The right tackle there, the freshman, so talented.
Oh, Cole Doggett.
Cole Doggett, thank you. He was really into watching him and seeing how he took on the defensive end or how he pulled, whatever the case might be there. And he just really got into that little chess match there. And it was just snap after snap. It was no contest between the Richland offensive line and how they were able to push Cornersville around.
And it's crazy, too, because on defense, the defensive front was just so dominant for Richland. Yeah. They had a season-high 16 tackles for loss. Once again, the missed punts count as 3 tackles for loss. Wow. And so 13 on defense, 3 on special teams technically. But that's more tackles for loss than they had against Community. So when you think about it from a defense perspective, somehow they were more dominant versus Cornersville than even a fairly hapless Community team.
Well, and you saw Cornersville very much like Community there. Tend to keep it on the ground. They didn't take a whole lot of shots downfield, maybe just a couple intermediate. They had 1 or 2 on the edge that went about intermediate or so. But for the most part, they were bottled up between the tackles. Told my dad as we watched, just the interior play of the defensive front for Richland just was stifling. Cornersville had no room to breathe. They sealed the edge pretty well. And as you say, just an overall outstanding performance up front.
And finally, just looking forward, a couple important things. One, Huntland played at home versus Fayetteville City on Friday night, and they lost by 2 touchdowns. So now there are 4 teams in this region that have 1 loss or less in the standings right now. It's really anyone's race between those 4 teams. And now this week on the bye week for Richland, as they will be playing non-region Summertown next week. And so bye for Richland, then they play non-region. This week, Huntland welcomes Eagleville, a Eagleville team who I know a lot of people are like, wow, Richland beat them by 30. How good could they be? Richland had their best game of the season versus Eagleville, and they scored 17 points on special teams. I think this Eagleville team is pretty good. And I could see a scenario where they go into Huntland and upset Huntland, and suddenly that would make the Fayetteville City versus Richland game on the 9th game of the schedule basically a de facto winner-take-all for the region championship. So suddenly that loss gets Richland back into the picture, as Huntland did lose to Fayetteville City. And 1 more loss for Huntland makes it wide open and makes it come down basically most likely between Fayetteville City and Richland in week 9. And so, I mean, everything is right in front of Richland right now.
It seems to be shaping up very similar to what we saw with region play last year.
Yeah.
It came down to those last couple of games there for Richland there at home and had the chance to control their own destiny, and they certainly did. And it could possibly shape up to be that way again.
Absolutely. And so once again, week off for Richland this week. So Giles County will be the only team in action this Friday night as the Raiders get a much needed rest before the final 3 games of the regular season. But we'll get a quick word from Coach Nick Patterson as well as Jake Sands and Gavin Schrader, who had a chance to talk to Jennifer after Friday night's win.
So, Jake, who renamed you to Jack of all trades? We're still calling you Jake of all trades because, man, you kind of do a little bit of everything this season. So tell me, how do you stay prepared every week, knowing that you might be a receiver and quarterback and running back and just all the different positions?
Well, Coach Pat does a great job making the game plan up and to do different things for different teams, And, we just like to utilize who we have and what we can do best.
So you guys have a bye week this next week. So what does that look like for you personally as a team?
We're going to get rested up really well. I think we're going to take the whole week off, actually. Maybe come in and do a workout or something, but we're going to get rested up and get ready for summertime.
I think you might get the whole week off. I know from school, but do you think you'll get a little break from practice?
Oh, yes, ma'am. He just said on the field we're going to have all week off.
I'm glad you guys get to do that. And like you said, give it a chance to heal up and do. So, all right. Thank you, Jake, for your time tonight. I know you want to probably go hit the locker room here and then kind of enjoy this win. Congrats on this senior win against Battle of Beaufort Station. And we look forward to more coming up this season.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And so next we're going to get Gavin Schrader, our freshman QB. So first of all, how's the ankle? You got rolled up a little bit there.
Yes, ma'am. It's actually my knee, but I'm good. Hopefully it's just hyperextended and it's starting to feel better, and I'm just going to get some ice on it. We got a whole week to recover, so it'll be good.
The team kind of helped you out, picking up the points from the board. You got a little bit of a breather in the second half, so you didn't have to put pressure. And then you got a bye week coming up this week, so you're going to get a good chance for you to rest and recuperate. But how do you stay mentally prepared as a freshman? It's a lot to put on a freshman's shoulders, but you have just been really solid through all this. How do you prepare each week mentally to do?
Well, it's just like I don't have to worry about everything. I got a team around me, great teammates that have my back, and they always remind me that, hey, you're a young guy, we're the older guys, we're going to take care of you. You just focus on you, and I just do my part, and they do their part, and we just come together as a team.
That's great to hear. Yeah, you got a great offensive line in front of you that lets you kind of make decisions. So as you're reading the field, kind of walk us through, you have a progression. How do you kind of work through that?
I do, yes, ma'am. So I'll have a pre-snap read. So depending on how the defense is lined up, I'll see if he's going to be open. If I don't see him open, then I'll have a progression when I snap the ball, depending on what the defense does. If they if they bring pressure, I can check it down to a flat with my running back, or I'll have a read with what the corners do with Jake and Abel. It's just, and my line gives me plenty of time to step back here and make the progression and reads.
Yeah, that just gives you confidence. You've got so much great play going on around you, and we just keep talking about we've just been impressed with your play, so we're just looking forward to what your future is. So thank you, Gavin, for your time with us tonight, and go rest up and get that knee better because we're excited to see you back in Summertown in 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Coach Pat, great to have you join us tonight. Good. Big win, Battle of Beaufort Station. So how did you guys execute tonight, your game plan and what you had in mind?
Well, I thought they did a great job doing what we talked about and executing early on, getting us a lead and that sort of thing. We didn't play clean football throughout, and we're still, working on trying to, play as clean as football as possible because, I still feel we're one of the best teams in the state when we do that. So we're still chasing that. Got a lot to play for, a lot to work for. But overall execution was well tonight, and we were able to kind of knock them out early, which is what we wanted to do.
How key is the bye week right now for you guys?
Well, we're halfway through the season. We're for the most part healthy, but everybody at this time of year is a little banged up, so it's going to give us a chance to recoup and heal a little bit and come back fresh, ready for the second half of the season.
What's been your bright spot that you're proud of as the season progresses overall as a team?
Well, we're starting to really gel a little bit more and more each week. I think, I can see it. I think you can probably see it from the stands, but, playing together and that sort of thing. We're doing a good job. I thought last week, we had 2 early turnovers, and that could have sunk us in years past and early in the season, and it didn't phase us. There was some exchanges tonight that could have affected us, but we didn't let it affect us as far as that goes. So, just the maturity and the growth of the guys is really starting to show.
That's a great observation that you have, because that's exactly what we kind of said here in the post game was still little things you got to clean up, and and do better moving forward. And I just want to congratulate you, not just on a great season going forward, but some great young men. And, you and I, we get to work with them every day at school, and I'm just so pleased at how respectful they are and how hardworking they are. And they're just a lot of fun to be around. So I know that you get to see that side of them too. Moving forward, you've got a good group of seniors. How are you pulling from those guys and pouring into the younger players?
Well, them guys have played a lot of football. I'm talking about our senior class and a lot of football together, since they were 5 or 6 years old. But, coming to the understanding as a senior that there's a finality to it, and we're chasing something that they've been chasing for a long, long time. And so, we're trying to keep getting a little bit better each week. And again, like I said, just the growth of bringing those young guys up with them and include them in part of their group. And then it's not just the seniors anymore, but it's, our whole football team. And now we've added some 8th graders in there too. So, just coming together as one, brotherhood is what we like to call it, and having each other's back. And we can do that, and we think it's going to carry us a long way.
Statement, because it's been some excellent football. When you guys are at your best, I don't think they can really beat you on the field, and so that's what we look forward to moving forward. Well, we wish you the best fall break. Enjoy your bye week, get some rest yourself, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks at Summer Camp.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
For a new job, let M&M Staffing be your guide. With over 20 years of experience, we know how to connect great people with great opportunities. We work with over 80 companies, so we're sure to find the perfect job for you. Our team is dedicated to helping you succeed, and our high customer satisfaction rate proves it. Ready to get started? Visit us at mnmstaffing.net or give us a call today at 931-347-4255. When it comes to insurance, Winterburn & Associates Insurance is the team you can trust. We offer coverage for your home, auto, business, and more. We work hard to find the best policy for you at the best price. Our personalized service means we take the time to understand your needs and make sure you understand your options. We want you to feel confident and secure with your insurance policy. Let us make insurance simple for you. Get a quote today at winterburinsurance.com or call us at 931-363-8638.
And we're back here for our final segment here on Beyond the Box Score. I'm Mark Mize, joined once again by Chandler Harmon. Chandler, when it comes to the college and NFL game, it was probably, in my opinion, the most interesting week that we've had of the season so far. A lot of upsets in college football.
Absolutely. My pick for my favorite was probably seeing Florida and Texas. Mannings have a long-standing tradition of losing to Florida, going all the way back to
You're not making any friends on Beyond the Box Score right now with our local crew here, but
continue.
I
love Manning, but unfortunately, it's just a known fact that they struggle against Florida. So hopefully, when Tennessee plays Florida, that's not a preview of how good Florida is, but rather maybe just the Manning curse in effect again. But overall, some great matchups. Penn State losing was interesting. You hate to see Nico win after what happened with Tennessee, but I was rooting for him in that matchup just because you love to see Penn State lose so he can move up in the rankings.
Definitely. And so let's start with that matchup you were talking about first. Texas at Florida. Gators win 29-21 in the Swamp. I think the biggest thing for me here is people aren't taking Florida's defense as seriously as they should. A truly elite unit that is starting to get healthier on that defensive line. I know Florida's offense with DJ Lagway hasn't been very good this year, and he's been really hit and miss. But whenever he has even a decent game, which he had a pretty good game versus a pretty good Texas defense, by the way. We saw them versus Ohio State earlier this year. They really slowed down Ohio State, even though that was a loss. And so I think that Florida is dangerous every week because you have one of the top 5 defenses in the SEC, undisputed. And then you have an offense that, when they play well and complement that defense, Florida's just hard to beat in the Swamp.
Right. I mean, we saw it with Tennessee. It's hard to go. Tennessee hasn't played them this year, but the last time Tennessee went to the Swamp, it's hard. It's a hostile environment. One of the better, home field advantages for a team to have, and it seems to have just gotten the better of Texas this time.
It is, and it was almost their second big upset of the year because most people forget this. Halfway through the fourth quarter, they were only down 13-7 against Miami. And then, of course, they ended up losing 26-7 because the offense just kept giving the ball away. DJ Lagway is basically what Carson Beck was in the SEC last year, where he's having some good plays, but just throwing way too many interceptions. Had 5 interceptions versus LSU earlier this year. So Florida's probably had a top 5 strength of schedule this year. And finally, you're starting to see the fact that they're a good team. They're just a good team that has really been up against it with a really, really inconsistent young offense. And so I know that's an upset, but I think Florida's for real, and I think everyone should be nervous when they're playing them this year. Then we'll mention that other matchup you just mentioned, probably the most surprising game of the day. I kept flipping back. UCLA and Penn State, everyone in the Big Ten is talking about the fact that you have these really long road games where you're West Coast to the Eastern Midwest. And basically, in this case, Penn State had to go back to the West Coast. They went last year on a long road trip and were able to win that one, USC. So people are saying, oh, well, it won't be a problem. It was a problem. Nico probably had the best game of his career. And just what was happening with the Penn State defense where they were playing so soft and basically giving all these receivers just the ability to find openings in the zone. I've never seen anything like it with a Penn State defense that is supposed to be truly elite.
Right. I mean, it's been talked about all season that they've got multiple players on their defense that should go early in the NFL draft.
Yes.
So seeing them struggle against the UCLA team that has not picked up a win previously, it was pretty shocking. I think that could be a combination of maybe, you talk about games that you feel like you're absolutely going to win, so you don't, go into them expecting much of a challenge. It could be that. You talked about long distance travel to play the game. But overall, just UCLA had a very well-coached performance.
I remember seeing that one scout said that Penn State has 13 draftable players in this upcoming NFL draft. And the question is, with that kind of talent, what is happening with James Franklin and staff that is leading to a close loss against Oregon, which is really nothing to sneeze at there. But now, I think the questions are starting to kind of pile up for Franklin.
Right. We're already in a year where a lot of coaches have been fired for, much less. There's going to be questions on whether or not he's on the hot seat for the rest of the season. Losing to a team that hadn't won any games going into the matchup and had kind of become, you don't want to say the laughing stock, but kind of in a way had become the punching bag for other teams. And all of a sudden you lost to him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more pressure on him if for some reason Penn State loses in our matchup.
The game that I watched the most of this past week, though, was Vanderbilt at Alabama. Was really excited. A lot of people were saying, hey, this is game day. This is a premium matchup, top 20 matchup between these two teams. And honestly, it was a really good game start to finish. I think you saw the fact that just in terms of consistency, Alabama's just got some guys. They're just a little bit above the talent level of Vanderbilt at this point. But, if you don't give up those 2 crucial red zone turnovers that Diego Pavia did, we'll talk about him in just a moment, and, you don't have a couple things not go your way, Vanderbilt really into the fourth quarter still had a chance to win that game.
Absolutely. The scoreboard doesn't reflect it, but I thought they played a good game. I thought, especially considering that going into the year, I wouldn't have considered Vanderbilt being in the top 20. All of a sudden,
Right.
They really put it all together. They could become a team that we talk about, maybe not every year being a high-ranked team, but potentially getting into that top 25, which is better than it has been the past few years.
Well, Clark Lee is just an incredible coach. He's got Tim Beck there as his offense coordinator, who's a former legendary head coach as well. And then the defense had really not been that good this year, but they forced Alabama to attempt 4 field goals. Alabama hit 3 of the 4. And so the fact that Alabama kept getting into the red zone, but kept settling for 3 or less if they missed the field goal there, I think that was really the key thing for them to stay in the ball game, was the fact that the defense had one of their best games of the year, but really the offense in the second half. They were up 14-7 late in the second quarter, Vanderbilt was, and then they get outscored 23-0 to end the game. I think this raises a few questions about whether or not they have the elite talent that we thought they did. And I know this is going to sound critical. I know a lot of people who have suddenly become Vanderbilt fans or may have been Vanderbilt fans for a while don't like hearing this, but you start to question too if they're taking it seriously enough. Mm-hmm. Because, in pregame all week, Diego Pavia said, hey, we're going to win by a ton. We're going to blow them out. If we play our game in between inside the field, then we're going to, dominate. And then in pregame warmups, he was I don't know if you saw the clip.
I did. I was about
but
to mention
basically where he was practicing the victory formation and throwing the ball up really high in the air. And then you saw in the fourth quarter just how shocked he looked on the sideline. His confidence is such a boon for them. But at some point, you have to take these threats seriously, and Alabama is a threat. And when you see him surprised, getting in a shouting match with fans after the game, you start to wonder, is the bravado becoming too much? I know Tennessee fans have an opinion on this, but at some point, is your confidence leading you to not take serious, dominant teams for what they are, and leading you to not be ready for the ball game? Like in the second half, he was, I think, 3 of 13 in the game. That's tough.
Right. I mean, Alabama to a degree, have taken a step down since Saban left, but you almost wonder if Vanderbilt thought since they beat them previously if that it was going to be the same ball game with the better offense, and obviously that was not the case. And so, like you said, I think it went a little bit to their head before they got to the matchup, and so they weren't as prepared when the lights came on. So.
Yeah, and I will say, too, Tuscaloosa and Nashville are two different places to play. Last year was in Nashville, which Vanderbilt plays well in Nashville, but this starts to question on the road how they're going to play. They do get to come back home versus LSU this week. I think that will tell us a lot. Last note from that game, Ty Simpson. That guy's just a baller. I mean, he throws the ball so well. Alabama's passing game right now has been really, really elite with Simpson and those receivers. I think that we can kind of put to bed the concerns that we had after the week 1 loss to Florida State, because this doesn't look like the same team.
Right. I mean, this is the same team that just beat Georgia, who, in the SEC is basically royalty. They were what Alabama used to be. So I think that they finally have found their rhythm as a team, which I think that it took them a little bit longer to get there, but now that they're in it, they're a threat to anyone.
Yeah, and one of the hardest schedules in the SEC too. And so in a couple weeks versus Tennessee, that'll be interesting. Finally, though, we're going to talk a little NFL action as well. So the Titans will not be going 0-17 this year as they picked up their first victory, 22-21 over Arizona. It happened again, Chandler. Someone dropped the ball going into the end zone, basically for what would have been, there by Dermicardo, the game-winning touchdown. They were up at that point by 15. That would have made it theoretically a 22-point game, and drops the ball at the 1-yard line while he's coming into the end zone, just showboating a little bit there. Quick trivia question. How many times has that theoretically happened? Once again, I know we may not have the entire history, but according to what I looked up, how many times has that happened where a player dropped it at the 1 going into the end zone?
It can't be more than 4 or 5 times. It's not that common of a mistake.
You're close, but it's 7.
Oh, wow.
Most famously by Deshaun Jackson, obviously. That's what we all remember. But how does this keep happening, Chandler?
I mean, we talk about it's a rarity. It's what happened 2 times already this season that I know of. So you'd think that in practice that now NFL teams, I guess, are going to have to start telling people to make sure you don't drop it before you cross the line. Because apparently it seems that players, maybe they're not sure that they've crossed the plane yet and they get a little too overexcited about it and end up dropping it too soon. But there's got to be something done about it, because you can't be costing your team very important and crucial scores like that with the touchdown celebration.
Yeah, and I get that. Obviously, you're excited going in the end zone. Of course, maybe you get a little too giddy too early, but I mean, it doesn't harm you at all to hold on to it too long. But holding on to it too short costs you a loss versus a Titans team that you were coming into the game, according to, if nothing else, the Vegas odds, expected to be pretty heavy favorites versus. So, and give the Titans credit in the sense that they didn't look great on offense, but Cam Ward and Calvin Ridley had a really nice rapport over the course of the day. And I could see this being a Titans team that, when things go their way, they're a competent team. But I don't think they're a good team.
I still think they're a little bit. I think they're very early in their rebuild still. And, we already talked about one big issue that the Cardinals had. But did you see the play with the interception that ended up getting fumbled into the end zone?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're the Cardinals, you can't pick off the ball and then end up fumbling it back to the offense to score a touchdown with. So, the Titans got some lucky plays their way. I think that Cam Ward can be a very good quarterback once he gets in rhythm. And, quite frankly, I think he needs some more receivers out there. Ridley's good, but they need more out there for him.
Yeah, Joey Sly, the kicker for the Titans, is leading the league in field goals, which good for him. That's what you want to see, but you never want to be the team that leads the league in field goals because that suggests that you're not punching the ball in the end zone.
Yeah. And obviously, for fantasy football, hey, there you go. There's your guy.
He's your guy. That's who you want. But, man, it's been great as always, Chandler. Appreciate you co-hosting with me as you always do. And it's going to be a fun Friday night at Community and then big week of college football once again.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, Mark.
So once again, thanks to everyone who makes Beyond the Box Score possible, to, of course, Chris Bledsoe, Chandler Harmon, and Scott Stewart who helped us out. So I'm Mark Mize. Big Friday night matchup as Giles will play in region play at Community. Should be a great one if you have a chance to watch it there on WKSR or check out the coverage that we'll have, whether it be social media, Chandler's story on PulaskiCitizen.com and in the newspaper, and my photography as well there. So long. This has been Beyond the Box Score. Enjoy your weekend and some great football.